Have you ever stepped into a moment that split your whole life in two? Because that's exactly what happened to me. Right outside room 2817 in Vegas. I flew there to surprise my wife. But instead, I heard her moan another man's name through a hotel door. I stood there with a bouquet in my hand, telling myself I was being a good husband. I raised my hand to knock, and then I heard her laugh. Not her work laugh, but her bedroom laugh. And then she whispered, "Oh God, right there, Rick." Not Babe, not Landon. Rick, her boss. The flowers slipped from my hand, and in a single breath, I went from being her husband to being the fool she'd been lying to. I came to Vegas to surprise her. Instead, I uncovered a truth she'd been hiding for months. If you've ever felt your world flip in 1 second, stay with me. Because what waited behind that door was so much darker. Before room 2817, my life was simple. Not flashy, not Instagram perfect, just steady. My name's Landon Pierce. I teach high school history in Plano, Texas. I don't make big money, I'm not some CEO, but the lights were always on, the mortgage was paid, and there was food on the table. To me, that meant something. Most nights were the same in the best way. I'd drive home past the same strip malls and churches, pull into our driveway, and see our little 2-story house sitting there under the Texas sky. Maddie's car in the driveway meant I wasn't coming home to an empty place. Inside, it was all the little things we'd built together over 6 years of marriage. The couch we argued about at IKEA, the paint colors we fought over then laughed about, the tree we planted in the backyard that still refused to grow straight. Maddie would kick her heels off, I'd loosen my tie, we'd throw something together for dinner and eat at the kitchen table, talking about her clients and my students, then fall asleep to whatever show we were half watching. I wasn't chasing yachts or status, I just wanted one person to come home to, somebody on my team. And I swear to you, back then, I honestly thought we were solid. Maddie didn't start out as the woman moaning another man's name in a Vegas hotel room. When we got married, she was grinding it out in pharma sales, driving all over North Texas, living on bad coffee and highway gas stations. Then she landed a job at Halston Ridge Pharma Marketing in Dallas. That's when things started to change. Her title climbed first, account executive, then senior account manager. The checks climbed with it. Pretty soon, my teacher salary was the little one in the house. Maddie would smile and say, "We're gonna have a better life, Landon. Bigger house, better neighborhood. This is for us." And I believed her. That's when Rick Halston stepped into our story. Senior VP, smooth, always in a sharp suit. The kind of guy who drives a car he doesn't actually own and calls it leveraging assets. Maddie talked about him a lot. Rick believes in me. Rick says I remind him of himself when he was younger. Rick thinks I'm director material. I heard all that and I wasn't threatened. I was proud. I told myself, good for her. Every ambitious woman needs a strong mentor, right? I never once thought, this man might be grooming my wife. I never once felt threatened by him. Until that night in Vegas. A couple months before Vegas, I got a letter from my aunt in Oklahoma. Inside was a handwritten note and a check for $3,000. She wrote, "I've been putting a little aside for you every year. Don't be responsible with this. Do something special for you and your wife." $3,000 is a lot of money for a teacher. I looked at that check and my first thought was boring. Fix the roof, pay down the credit card, be practical. Then I thought about Maddie. How hard she'd been working. How tired she looked coming home from Dallas every night. How long it had been since I really did something for her. Vegas was coming up. Her big Can Change My Career conference. And that's when it hit me. Fly out there. Show up. Be the husband every woman brags about at brunch. So I booked a ticket to Vegas, started looking at rooms in the same hotel she'd be at, Googled the fancy steakhouse she'd once shown me on Instagram and made a reservation for 2. I held that printed plane ticket in my hand and thought, this is what a good husband does. He shows up, he puts his wife first. And I had no idea I'd just paid for the front row seat to my own humiliation. Telling the school I needed a day off was the easy part. Family matter, I said. They didn't ask questions. Why would they? I'd never been that guy with drama. The night before my flight, I stood in our bedroom, folding my best shirt into a carry-on like it actually mattered. I picked out the jeans Maddie once said made me look like I still went to the gym. Couple sprays of cologne. I checked myself in the mirror and thought, she's gonna love this. On the drive from Plano to DFW, I pictured it over and over. Maddie opening the door, eyes going wide, hand flying to her mouth, then that laugh I fell in love with, and her arms around my neck. I'd already arranged for flowers to be delivered to the hotel. The plan was clean: land, check in, quick shower, pick up the roses, walk down the hall, and knock on her door like a scene from a movie. In my head, that night in Vegas was when we'd finally reconnect. Maybe talk seriously about kids, turn a busy season into a new chapter. The last time I felt that hopeful was that night on the way to Vegas. I haven't felt that way since. The plane dropped through the clouds and Vegas lit up under us like somebody spilled electricity on the desert. Neon, billboards, casinos stacked on top of each other. It felt like the kind of place where anything could happen. I stepped out into the warm night air, grabbed my carry-on, and headed for the Silver Mirage Resort, the conference hotel Maddie had been talking about for weeks. Inside, it was marble floors, glass chandeliers, and people who all looked like they made more money than me. Suits, designer dresses, high rollers with that bored, rich face. I walked up to the front desk in my off-the-rack shirt and teacher shoes, feeling like the only regular guy in the building. I smiled at the woman behind the counter. "Hey, my wife's here for the conference, Madison Pierce. I flew in to surprise her. Think I could get a key to her room?" She started typing. Her eyes moved, then stopped. Something in her face changed. Just a flicker, but I saw it. "I'm sorry, sir," she said. "I can't give you a key, but I can confirm she's checked in." "Right, of course," I said. Is it just her on the reservation?" Another hesitation. Another look I'll never forget. "There's another guest listed," she said quietly. "A Richard Halston." And that was the first time his name and my wife ever sat in the same sentence. I didn't remember the walk from the front desk to the elevators, just the buzzing in my ears and that name echoing, Richard Halston. I rode up to the 28th floor with my heart pounding in my throat. No key, but I had the room number from the desk, 28117. The hallway was the kind of quiet that feels fake. Thick carpet swallowing every footstep, soft music you can barely hear, that hotel smell, expensive cleaner and too much air freshener. On a side table near the elevators, my pre-ordered bouquet was waiting, wrapped in clear plastic, trying its best to look romantic. I picked it up, told myself I was overreacting. It's just a billing thing. Maybe he booked the room for her. Maybe they're trying to save the company money. Don't be that insecure husband. I walked down the hall. 2811, 2813, 2815. Then I was standing outside 2817. I heard the TV first. Then another sound slipped through the door. Maddie's laugh. Not her work laugh. Her bedroom laugh. And before I could even process that, her laugh broke into a moan. "Oh God. Right there, Rick. Oh God." My hands started shaking. The flowers slid out of my grip and hit the carpet without a sound. In that moment, I realized my wife hadn't just stepped out on me. She'd been playing me. And I was the only one in that hallway who didn't know the joke. Every cell in my body wanted the same thing in that moment. Kick the door in, drag him out by his expensive hair, make her look me in the eye with his name still on her lips, let the whole damn 28th floor see the show. That's what the angry part of me wanted. But there's another part of me that spent years teaching kids about wars, revolutions, dumb leaders who let emotion write the ending. And right there in that hallway, over the sound of my wife moaning for her boss, that part of me got louder. You kick that door in, Landon. You get a scene. You scream, you cry, security comes, they spin a story, and tomorrow you're just the crazy, jealous husband. I took one step back from 2817, then another. My hands were still shaking. My heart was hammering so hard I could feel it in my teeth. But my mind was getting cold. I told myself out loud under my breath, I'm not going to give them a scene. I'm going to give them consequences. I chose not to kick that door open. I chose to open a different one. Back in my own room at the Silver Mirage, I didn't cry. I didn't throw anything. I just sat there on the edge of the bed for a minute, staring at the carpet, feeling nothing and everything at the same time. Then I pulled my phone out. If I couldn't trust my wife anymore, I could at least trust evidence. I went back downstairs and outside, pretending I'd just arrived. Took a picture of the hotel sign lit up against the Vegas sky. In the elevator, I snapped a quick shot of the button for the 28th floor. In the hallway, a photo of the door to 2817, the little silver numbers shining in the soft light. Back in my room, I opened the Notes app, typed the time, what the front desk clerk said, exactly what I'd heard Maddie say to Rick. Then I sent her a text. Hope the conference is going well. Miss you. Love you. She replied almost instantly. Miss you too. Rick's presentation was great. Long night. Love you. I stared at those words. Long night. Love you. Knowing she was typing that from another man's bed. That was the moment the last warm piece of my old life went cold. The flight back to Dallas felt like moving through fog. People talked, babies cried, attendants pushed carts, and none of it really registered. I was there, but not there. Just a body in a middle seat replaying one sentence on a loop. Right there. Oh God. Rick. By the time I pulled into our driveway in Plano, my hands knew the turns better than my head did. Same house, same yard, same little tree leaning in the backyard. I walked in, dropped my bag, and just stood in the living room. It didn't feel like home anymore. It felt like a staged set. Our wedding photo over the mantel, me in a cheap suit, her in white, both of us smiling like idiots. Holiday pictures with matching sweaters. Then the one from her company awards dinner. Maddie holding a glass trophy, and right behind her, hand on her shoulder, was Rick Halston. Funny how I'd never really noticed his hand before. I moved from room to room, the kitchen, the hallway, the bedroom we'd shared, and every space felt fake, like I'd wandered into some museum exhibit called Happy Marriage, Please Do Not Touch. I remember standing in the doorway of our bedroom thinking, was I building a life or just decorating a lie? Maddie always called it her war room. Her home office was where she lived when she wasn't in Dallas or on a plane. If I knocked on the door after 8 p.m., I'd get, I'm drowning in emails, babe, just give me 10 minutes. So I went in there alone for the first time with different eyes. On one wall there was a huge whiteboard calendar, color-coded. Sharpie notes everywhere. It used to just look like busy, important woman things to me. Now I stood there and started reading. Conference, Chicago. Client Summit, Denver. Workshop, Vegas. Leadership Retreat, Scottsdale. Little notes beside some of them. Dinner Water Rick. Flight Water RH. Presenting Water Rick. I grabbed a pen and started quietly connecting the dots in my head. Same cities, same man, same pattern, over and over, for the last 8 months. I took pictures of the whole thing, close-ups of the boxes with his name in them. The word conference started to look less like work, and more like code. Staring at that wall, it hit me. Vegas wasn't some one-time lapse. It was just the first time I'd happened to show up in the middle of an ongoing story. The truth was right there on her calendar the whole time. I just hadn't known how to read it. Her office had this little filing cabinet, boring gray metal, 3 drawers. Top drawer was always the same. Insurance papers, old tax returns, warranty stuff. I'd opened it 100 times to grab something for her. This time, something new was wedged between 2 folders. Nice cream-colored stationery. Not our usual cheap printer paper. I pulled it out. The handwriting wasn't hers. Sharper. Confident. The kind of handwriting that thinks it owns every room it walks into. It started simple. M. Last night was incredible. I can't stop thinking about you. I wish I could wake up next to you every morning. Same time next month. R. There was a date in the corner. 4 months ago. So this wasn't Vegas got wild or we made a horrible mistake one time. This was a standing appointment. Same time next month. Someone had literally put my wife on a schedule. My face got hot. My hands went cold. There's a special kind of humiliation in realizing another man feels comfortable enough to plan recurring nights with your wife on nice stationery. I took pictures from every angle. The letter, the date, the signature R. Then I slid it back exactly where I found it, like putting evidence back into a file I hadn't finished reading. At some point the anger moved from my chest into my gut. I opened my laptop, logged into our joint credit card account, and started scrolling. There it was. Steakhouses in Dallas I'd never eaten at. Hotel bars in Chicago I'd never been to. A resort in Denver I'd only heard about on travel shows. Charges from flower shops that had never once delivered anything to our house. Line after line after line. And every month, there I was, paying the bill. Feeling good about doing my part, keeping us afloat. The more I scrolled, the clearer it got. I wasn't just the guy being cheated on. I was the guy funding it. Then I saw something else in her HR paperwork. A recent bump in my life insurance through her job. From a number that made sense to a number that made me uncomfortable. I'm not saying she was planning something dark. I don't believe Maddie's a killer. But I do know this. No woman who's truly on your team uses your shared money to wine and dine her boss in hotel rooms. I sat back, stared at the screen, and thought, I'm out here keeping the lights on, while she's out there doing me dirty on our dime. There's only one person I knew who made a living walking in the dark. Marcus Reed. We were roommates back in college. I became a teacher. He became the guy husbands hire when they don't want to feel crazy anymore. I sat at the kitchen table, lights off, just the glow of my phone in front of me. Stared at his name for a long time before I finally hit call. He picked up on the second ring. Landon? Man, it's been a minute. My voice didn't sound like mine. Yeah, I need your professional help, and I need this 100% confidential. That word hung there between us. I told him everything. Vegas, room 2817, the note in her drawer, the calendar on the wall, the credit card charges. When I finished, there was nothing but breathing on the line for a few seconds. Damn, man, he said quietly. I'm sorry, I really am. You don't deserve that. I don't want sympathy, I said. My hands had stopped shaking. My voice had gone flat. I don't want drama. I want facts. I want leverage. There was a different tone when he answered this time. All right, Marcus said. If you want the truth, I'll dig. And just like that, this stopped being just a broken heart and started becoming an investigation. A few days later, we met at a Starbucks a couple towns over. Not Plano, too close to home. Some neutral strip mall nowhere land where nobody knew either of us. Marcus was already there, back in the corner with his laptop open, 2 coffees on the table. He didn't waste time on small talk. I'm gonna get straight to it, he said, turning the screen toward me. There was a photo of Rick Halston, professional headshot, arms crossed, perfect teeth. Under it, lines of text. Rick's been at Halston Ridge 8 years, Marcus said. Works his way up from account director to senior VP. Big revenue guy, golden boy. Then he clicked. First file, Christine Miller, marketing coordinator 5 years ago. Words like inappropriate relationship, internal complaint, mutual separation, and NDA showed up in the notes. Second file, Danielle Brooks, senior account manager, same position as Maddie before. On track for a promotion, then suddenly relocated to Boston after what HR called a situation. Both of them worked directly under Rick, Marcus said. Both complained, both got paid to go away. He kept his title and his pattern. I stared at those names, those dates, those quiet exits, and it hit me. Maddie wasn't some epic love story for this guy. She wasn't the one. She was just next. Marcus scrolled down and the numbers started hitting harder than any text message ever could. Revenue charts, client lists, internal awards. Rick brings in 8-9 million a year in billings, easy, Marcus said. Big pharma accounts, long-term contracts. He's their golden boy. Guys like this don't get fired, they get covered. He leaned back. They'd rather quietly pay off a few women and ship them out than lose the guy who keeps the money flowing. I pictured that glass tower off the Dallas tollway, the Halston Ridge building Maddie loved taking photos in front of. Suddenly, it didn't look like my wife's impressive workplace anymore. It looked like a hunting ground with a logo. I thought about all those mentorship dinners she'd gushed about. Rick believing in her. Rick seeing potential. I realized it was a script. one he'd probably used word for word before my wife ever walked into his office. Up until then, everything in me had been about me, my marriage, my humiliation, my life blowing up. Sitting in that Starbucks, staring at those files, another thought showed up. If I walk away quietly, how many more women is this guy gonna hurt? For the first time, it wasn't just about survival. It started to feel like a responsibility. That night, after my students, were long gone and the house was dark, I sat at the kitchen table with just my laptop and the hum of the fridge. I typed "divorce in Texas adultery property rights" into Google. It felt surreal. I teach about Supreme Court cases. Now I was scrolling through forums where guys named Mike and Jason argued about who kept the house after their wife cheated. Article after article, how to protect yourself when your spouse steps out, what counts as adultery, how fault affects division of assets. Then I went down another rabbit hole. Workplace sexual harassment boss-subordinate, power imbalance corporate affairs. Can NDAs be broken in harassment cases? The more I read, the more two things hit me at once. Yeah, I felt humiliated as a man, but if I screwed this up, I could also get cleaned out financially by the same person who'd already cashed out emotionally. I sat back, rubbed my eyes, and told myself, I'm not just fighting for my pride here, I'm fighting for my future. That's when I made a decision. I wasn't going to confront Maddie yet. No yelling in the kitchen, no ugly middle-of-the-night fight. I couldn't afford to go into this with just hurt feelings. I needed facts, I needed law, I needed patience, and the next step was a lawyer. A few days after Vegas, I drove out to Dallas-Fort Worth like any other husband picking up his wife from a trip. People were standing at arrivals with flowers and balloons. I was standing there with something else in my chest, the memory of room 2817. Then I saw her, Maddie, rolling her suitcase, talking on her phone, laughing at something. She hung up when she spotted me, smiled big, walked straight into my arms like nothing in the world was wrong. She kissed me and said, "God, it's good to be home. I missed you." And I swear to you, I could taste Vegas on that kiss. On the drive back up to Plano on I-35, she filled the car with noise. The keynote was incredible. The panel discussion went long. The networking dinner ran late but was worth it. Every detail lined up perfectly, for someone who didn't know what I knew. At one point she said, "Rick thinks I'm ready for a big promotion next quarter. That could change everything for us." I kept my eyes on the road and answered, "Yeah, sounds like he takes a lot of interest in your career." My tone was flat, neutral. The kind of voice you use when you're talking to a stranger you don't quite trust yet. She didn't notice. She just kept talking, while I sat there next to her, acting like her husband, and quietly building my case. That weekend looked perfect from the outside. Saturday morning, we made coffee, argued about pancakes versus eggs, ended up doing both. Maddie sent me TikToks across the table, laughing at stupid trends. She asked about my students, rolled her eyes at kids these days, told me I should write a book. In the afternoon, we did yard work. She raked leaves in that old college sweatshirt. I bagged them up, and the neighbors waved like we were the picture of stability. That night, we sat on the sofa, her feet under a blanket, some cooking show on in the background. She leaned into me like she always had, head on my shoulder, hand resting on my chest. Just before she drifted off, she mumbled, "I love you. I'm glad we're solid." Then she fell asleep, breathing slow and even. I stared at the ceiling and thought, how does someone sleep this peacefully after what she did in Vegas? My arm went numb under her weight, but I didn't move it. I didn't push her away. I didn't wake her up and demand answers. I was preserving the scene. Let her think the play was still going. Let her believe I was still playing my old role, because the longer she stayed comfortable, the more time I had to make sure the ending would belong to me. A week later, there was a thick manila envelope in my mailbox with Marcus's handwriting on it. He'd also texted me a link to a secure folder. I waited until Maddie was working late to open it. At the kitchen table, under that same overhead light we'd eaten 100 quiet dinners beneath, I slid the papers out. Hotel invoices from Vegas, Chicago, Denver, Scottsdale, boarding passes, room confirmations. At least 7 trips in 8 months where Maddie and Rick were at the same hotels. Sometimes separate rooms, sometimes adjoining, sometimes one room with 2 guests listed. Then the emails. Nothing graphic. Just lines like, "Last time was incredible. Can't wait to see you again." Same bar as before? Wear that dress I like. Work addresses, company signatures, corporate Wi-Fi. The phone logs were worse. Hundreds of calls and texts, most of them between 10 at night and 1 in the morning on days she'd told me, "I'm staying up late finishing slides, don't wait up." I went page by page, line by line, until the stack blurred. This wasn't a mistake. This wasn't one week night on a business trip. This was a system, an arrangement, a second life being carefully maintained, while I paid the utilities on the first one. When I finally walked into Caroline Hayes' office in uptown Dallas, it felt like stepping into a different world. Polished wood, framed degrees, smell of good coffee instead of reheated school cafeteria. She shook my hand, sat down across from me, and said, "Tell me everything. Don't clean it up." So I did. Vegas, room 2817, the note in the drawer, the calendar on the wall, the credit card charges, Marcus's files, hotel invoices, emails, call logs. She didn't interrupt. She just read, underlined, made small notes in the margins. After a while, she looked up and said, "Matter of fact, you have a very strong case. You do not have to let her walk all over you in this divorce." She explained Texas law, how adultery affects division of property, how the income gap between us could work in my favor, how planning to hide assets, like in those texts with Rick, would look in court. Then she sat back, studied me for a second, and asked, "So, Landon, do you just want out? Or do you want more than that? Do you want justice?" That was the first time anyone put it to me that way. Not just how do you survive this, but what are you going to do with it? Right before I left her office, Caroline said something that stuck. "Landon, one more thing. On paper, this is a consensual relationship, but he's her boss. He controls her income, her promotions, her career. I'm not excusing what she did to you, but the power imbalance is real." I drove back up 75 toward Plano in silence, headlights stretching out in front of me. My mind kept bouncing between two pictures of Maddie. The one from before Rick, tired, hustling, excited just to be noticed at work. And the one after him, talking about mentorship dinners, glowing whenever she said, "He sees something in me. He believes I'm meant for big things." Was she manipulated into this? Or did she jump in with both feet the minute a powerful man pointed at her and said, "You're special"? I gripped the steering wheel and answered myself, maybe both things are true. Maybe the system is sick and she got pulled into it, but she still chose to cheat. She still chose to lie every day. She still chose to plan her exit by gutting me financially. Whatever pressure she was under at work, that part, that's on her. A few nights later, my phone buzzed while I was grading papers. Marcus. "Got something you need to see. Check your email. Don't open it around her." It was a chain of screenshots, fresh texts between Maddie and Rick. First one was Rick. "Laura's been asking questions about Vegas. We just have to be more careful." Then Maddie. "I can't keep lying to Landon forever. He's a good man." For half a second, my chest loosened. Then the next bubble came in, from her. "Better to wait until after the promotion. Move some money around. Then I'll have more leverage." Rick responded, "That's my girl. You think strategically. This is why you're going places." I just stared at the screen. So that's what I was to her now, a problem to manage. Someone to be softened up, drained, and discarded at the right time for her career. It wasn't just that she slept with another man. They were planning, together, how to strip me down on the way out. What I read in those screenshots didn't just hurt me. It killed whatever love I had left. We met at a small conference room Caroline used for sensitive cases. Just me, her, and Marcus. 3 cups of coffee and my whole life on the table. Caroline laid it out clean. "Option 1, she said, you file for divorce quietly. We use the evidence just enough to get you a good settlement. No noise. Option 2, you confront Rick and Maddie, maybe tell a few people, maybe scare him a little. It blows up personally, but the company stays untouched. He keeps hunting." She paused. "Option 3, we go bigger. We hit Rick and the company. Coordinate with other victims. Involve HR, the board, maybe the press. It's messier, but it might actually change something." Marcus nodded. "If we time it right, we can hit them from all sides. Legal, internal, public. Board, CEO, EEOC, his wife, all of it." I sat there, staring at the timeline Caroline had sketched. EEOC complaint, email to the CEO, reaching out to Rick's wife, divorce papers served at work. If I'm going to lose my marriage anyway, I said slowly, I want that pain to mean something. I looked up. I want option 3. I'm not just cleaning up my life, I'm closing his hunting ground. The first person who deserved the truth, after me, was her. Laura Halston, Rick's wife. I sat at my kitchen table again, laptop open, cursor blinking in a blank email. At first I wrote it anonymously. Your husband is having an affair with my wife. Deleted it. Started over. If I was going to do this, I wasn't going to hide. I typed, Laura, you don't know me. My name is Landon Pierce. Your husband, Rick, has been having an affair with my wife, Madison, for at least 8 months. I found out when I flew to Vegas to surprise her on a work trip and heard them together in her hotel room. I'm not doing this to hurt you. I'm doing this because my life was blown up, and you deserve to know your reality too. Attached are hotel invoices, emails, calendar entries, and phone records. I'm truly sorry you're reading this. I attached the files, Vegas, the other cities, the emails. My hand actually shook a little when I moved the mouse to the send button, because I knew once I clicked it, there was no taking it back. Another family was about to feel what I felt in that hallway outside 2817. I took a breath and hit send. Once Laura knew, the next target wasn't just Rick. It was the machine that kept him safe. Caroline drafted a formal letter on her firm's letterhead, addressed straight to the CEO of Halston Ridge. No HR gatekeeping. No info-at-company nonsense. It laid everything out. A documented pattern of a senior VP engaging in sexual relationships with subordinates. Multiple women pushed out with NDAs. Company-paid trips doubling as affairs. Liability, exposure, risk. Attachments, invoices, emails, timelines, the works. At the same time, Danielle Brooks filed an official EEOC complaint. In black and white, she described being groomed, then told, transfer to Boston or your career dies here. Caroline's package didn't just stop at the CEO. Copies went to the company's general counsel and the board of directors. While that moved through the legal veins, Marcus reached out to Rachel Park, an investigative reporter in Dallas known for going after corporate dysfunction. He didn't give her everything, just enough to say, you're going to want to keep your calendar open. Something big is about to break at Halston Ridge. Looking at all of it, legal, internal, press, I realized something. This wasn't just my private hell anymore. It was about to become their public one. The Monday everything kicked off started like any other. Maddie came downstairs in a sharp navy suit, hair done, makeup perfect, heels in her hand. Big day, she said, kissing my cheek as she grabbed her travel mug. Debrief with Rick about the conference, then a huge client call. Could be a game changer. She checked her phone while she talked, scrolling email. Suddenly her face tightened. Ugh, Danielle again, she muttered. Some EEOC thing. She's just stirring up drama because she couldn't handle the pressure. She said it like a woman rolling her eyes at a coworker, not realizing she was dismissing the very person about to help blow her world up. We walked to the door together. She slung her bag over her shoulder, leaned in, and gave me a quick kiss. Love you. I might be late, she said, already halfway out. The door clicked shut behind her. A second later, my phone buzzed. Caroline. It's time. We're filing. I stood there in the quiet hallway, her love you, I might be late, still hanging in the air, and knew that for Maddie, late was about to take on a whole new meaning. At 10 a.m., my phone buzzed with a picture from Caroline. It was the lobby of Halston Ridge. Marble floors, glass walls, that big logo on the far wall. In the middle of it stood Maddie. Power suit, heels, face white as printer paper, a legal-sized envelope in her hand. Caroline's caption was simple. It's done. Later, she told me how it went. The process server walked up to the front desk, asked for Madison Pierce. Reception called her down. In front of the receptionist and a couple co-workers, he said, Mrs. Pierce, you've been served, and handed her the divorce papers, with Caroline Hayes printed across the top. People looked up from their phones. Eyes flicked from Maddie to the envelope to the firm's name. You could almost hear the story writing itself in their heads. Back at home, my phone started lighting up. Call, 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 then text messages, then voicemails. I watched her name fill the screen again and again, and didn't answer a single time. Those voicemails? We'll get to them. For the first time since Vegas, the power balance had shifted by just an inch. While Maddie was still trying to process getting served, the other shoe dropped on the 8th floor. HR and the general counsel asked Rick Halston to step into a quick meeting. They sat him down in a conference room and laid out a stack of paper in front of him. EEOC complaint from Danielle Brooks. Her detailed account of how he blurred lines, mixed mentorship with pressure, and made Boston sound like her only way out. Printouts of emails, expense reports for trips that looked a lot less like business and a lot more like romance. Timelines of his protégés who mysteriously vanished. He did what men like him always do at first: minimized, deflected, blamed, misunderstandings. But the pile in front of him wasn't a rumor. It was a record. Sometime before lunch, the door opened again. Only this time, Rick walked out with security at his side and a cardboard box in his hands. The same employees who'd watched Maddie get served in the lobby now watched their untouchable senior VP get walked out like any other problem. The company chat lit up. "What's going on with Rick? Did you see that memo? Did you hear about the lawyer's letter?" Not long after, an all-staff email went out. "We take workplace concerns very seriously." For years, he'd been protected. For the first time, he was the one on the outside of the glass, looking in. I waited until the house was dead quiet that night. Sat at the kitchen table, phone face down for a second, just staring at it. Then I opened my voicemail. First one. Her voice was sharp, furious. "Landon, what the hell? You had me served at work? Do you have any idea how humiliating that was? Call me. Now." Second one, a little less edge, a little more confusion. "Okay, seriously, what is going on? We're married. We don't do this to each other. We talk. Please, just call me." Third one, panic seeping in. "Are you doing this because I've been busy? Because of work? We can fix it. Please don't throw everything away over whatever this is." Fourth one, her voice cracked. "Landon, I'm scared. Everyone's asking questions. Rick got pulled into HR. Please, please pick up. We can work through this. I love you." By the fifth, she was crying. "I'm sorry. Whatever you think I did, I can explain. Don't do this. Please, I can't lose you." That's when I called. She picked up on the first ring. "Landon, it's not what you think. I was in Vegas," I said. "I stood outside 2817. I heard you with him." Silence. Then sobbing. Then the script. "It was a mistake. Rick pushed. I was confused." I cut her off. "A mistake is once," I said. "This was 8 months." She tried to pull on every thread, history, vows, years together, but I'd already tied my knot. "I'm not the one who threw this marriage away, Maddie. You did, one lie at a time. Meeting a lawyer feels one way. Meeting a reporter feels different." Caroline and I met Rachel Park at a quiet coffee shop in Dallas. She was exactly what you'd expect from an investigative journalist. Sharp eyes, small notebook, nothing wasted. She listened while Caroline laid out the timeline in broad strokes. Then she turned to me. "I need to understand your motive, Landon," she said. "Is this revenge, or is this about something bigger?" I could have lied, but I was too tired for that. "Both," I said. "I won't pretend I'm not angry. He slept with my wife and tried to help her gut me on the way out." I took a breath. "But I also don't want another husband standing outside another hotel room like I did, wondering when he turned into a joke." Rachel nodded slowly, jotting that down. "Are you willing to go on the record? Name, occupation, face, the whole thing?" I thought about hiding, about anonymous quotes and blurred voices. Then I thought about all the women who'd been forced into silence. "Yeah," I said. "Use my name, use my face. If I'm going to do this, I'm not doing it from the shadows." Rachel closed her notebook. "I'll double-check everything," she said. "If it all holds up like this, they're not walking away from this clean." A few days later, the article dropped. Front page of the Dallas Business Chronicle business section. Harassment culture at Halston Ridge exposed. I sat at my kitchen table, same spot where I'd opened Marcus's envelope, and stared at the headline on my laptop. Rachel didn't hold back. She named Rick Halston outright, quoted Danielle Brooks on being pressured into a transfer, referenced Christine Miller and her NDA, walked through the pattern: grooming, mentorship, secret relationships, quiet exits. She talked about NDAs being used as muzzles, about how profitable executives get handled while everyone beneath them gets replaced. Then I saw my own name. "I was standing outside a hotel room while my wife slept with her boss," said Landon Pierce, a high school teacher from Plano. "I thought it was just my life falling apart. Turns out it was part of a system. I can't explain that feeling. Seeing your worst night turned into a pull quote. Part of me hurt all over again. Part of me felt lighter." By noon, Halston Ridge's stock was slipping. Partners were calling. Internal emails were flying. Rachel texted later. 2 more women reached out. Same pattern, same man. That's when it really hit me. This wasn't just my marriage anymore. It was a case study in how power eats people alive when nobody says anything. The day after the article, my phone rang with a number I didn't recognize. I almost let it go to voicemail. Then I saw the area code and knew. I answered. "Hello? Landon? This is Laura Halston." Her voice sounded cracked but controlled, like someone who'd already done all the crying she was going to do and was now running on fumes and resolve. "I read everything you sent," she said. Then I pulled our bank statements, his travel schedule, his calendar. A pause. "It all lines up. Every single trip I thought was work was exactly what you said it was." She took a breath. "I'm filing for divorce," she said. "I'm going for the house, the kids, everything. He doesn't get to blow up our lives and land on his feet." I felt a strange heaviness in my chest. My marriage was already dead. Now his family, kids who'd never done a thing wrong, was about to walk through the same fire. It hurt, even if he deserved it. But then Laura said something that echoed exactly what had been sitting in my gut. They don't get to destroy people and walk away clean. For the first time, I realized I wasn't fighting this man alone. A few days after the article hit, I got an email from an address I knew too well. Rick Halston. Subject line, "Can we talk man to man?" It was long. Guys like him never use 10 words when 50 will do. He started with Maddie. "I don't know what she's told you, but this was mutual. She pursued me as much as I pursued her. I never forced her." Then he pivoted. "You're destroying innocent lives here, Landon. My kids, Laura, they don't deserve this circus." No mention of me standing outside 2817. No mention of the women before Maddie. Then came the pitch. "Let's handle this privately, like adults. I'll stay away from Maddie. We can transfer her to another division. You file for divorce quietly, we all move on. No more press, no more drama." Reading it, I could feel what he was trying to do. Reframe everything. Turn this into 2 men working something out over a handshake, instead of what it was. A predator finally facing consequences. For a second, the old me, the peacemaker, the teacher who hates conflict, felt that tug. Then I scrolled to the bottom, closed the email, and hit delete. No reply. No man-to-man. He'd written his story. Now he had to live in it. Not long after, Caroline called. Her lawyer sent over a proposal, she said. "I'm emailing it now." I opened the attachment. They were offering me cash for my share of the house, a chunk of savings, 18 months of alimony, and coverage of legal fees. On paper, it wasn't bad, especially for a school teacher. Then I saw the condition, non-disclosure agreement. I would agree never to talk publicly about the affair, the investigation, the company, or Rick. Caroline looked at me across her desk. "This is a decent financial offer," she said. "But once you sign this, that's it. You don't get to tell your own story ever again." I thought of Christine, Danielle, the anonymous women who'd emailed Rachel after the article, all of them pushed into silence with the exact same kind of paperwork. I shook my head. "They've been using NDAs to shut women up for years," I said. "I'm not going to let them do that to me." Caroline smiled slightly. "I figured you'd say that." We pushed back. "No NDA. I keep the house. 2 years of reasonable alimony. They cover the legal mess." In the end, they agreed. I might have lost my marriage, but I didn't sell my voice. Halston Ridge didn't fire Maddie. Of course they didn't. They killed the promotion, though, pulled her off anything high profile, moved her to a different department with no real future. On paper, she still had a job. In reality, everyone knew the ceiling had slammed shut. Colleagues who used to crowd her desk now went quiet when she walked by. The whispers changed. She slept her way up, and then right back down. She lasted a few weeks like that before telling me, through her lawyer, that she was transferring to the Boston office. "Fresh start," was the official line. The day before she left, she asked to come by the house and get the last of her things. I agreed. She walked into what used to be our living room and stopped. The walls were bare where our wedding pictures used to hang. Most of her stuff was already in cardboard boxes, labeled in black marker. She looked smaller, thinner, hair cut shorter, like she'd tried to shed the woman she'd been with him. There were lines on her face I'd never seen before. For a long moment, she just stood there in the middle of that half-empty room, staring at the empty spaces where our life used to be on display. For the first time in a long time, I didn't see the woman who betrayed me. I just saw a human being who'd burned down her own house and finally smelled the smoke. We didn't sit. We just stood there. Me by the kitchen doorway, her near the middle of the living room. "I'm not here to beg you to take me back," she started. Her voice was thin but steady. "I know that door's closed." She swallowed, eyes on the floor. "At first, it felt good," she said. "Having someone like Rick notice me. Tell me I was special. Promise me this bigger life." She gave a bitter half laugh. "And then it was like one small compromise at a time. One dinner that didn't mean anything. One lie to you about working late. I kept putting everything in different boxes in my head so I didn't have to look at it all at once." She finally looked at me. "I turned you into collateral damage in my ambition," she said. "That's on me. No spin, no excuses." It was quiet for a long moment. "I forgive you," I said. Her eyes filled, like she hadn't expected that. "Not because you deserve it," I added. "Because I don't want to carry this anger forever." I took a breath. "But we're done, Maddie. That part doesn't change." She nodded. A tear slipped, but she didn't fall apart. "Fair," she whispered. Two people standing in a half-empty room, finally telling the truth, and both knowing this was the last time we'd ever stand there together. Months after the divorce papers were signed, I was still in the same house, but it didn't feel like the same place. At first I thought I'd have to move. Too many ghosts in the walls. Too many memories baked into the paint. Then one Saturday, I grabbed a roller and a can of a color I liked, and I started painting over the bedroom. Wedding photos came down. New frames went up. Landscapes I liked. Old maps. A stupid poster from a band I loved in college. I moved the couch, got rid of the dining chairs she'd picked. Slowly, room by room, it stopped feeling like our house and started feeling like mine. I joined a cheap gym, nothing fancy. Showed up 3 times a week. Cooked a little better, not to get revenge, not to post thirst traps, just so I could look in the mirror and not see a man who'd given up. I said yes when friends tried to set me up. Careful, slow, coffee, not commitments. On quiet evenings, I found myself out back on the deck, sketching the yard, the tree line, the sky changing color at sunset. For the first time in a long time, I wasn't just surviving what happened to me. I was actually living again. One evening, I was on the back deck grading essays, red pen in one hand, cheap glass of wine in the other, when my phone buzzed with a number I didn't know. Text message. "Hi, Landon. This is Danielle Brooks. I got your info from Rachel. I just wanted to say, because you spoke up, I realized I wasn't crazy. I wasn't the problem. Thank you." I read it twice. Danielle, the woman Rick groomed before Maddie, the one who got shipped to Boston and paid to disappear. For months after what happened, I'd asked myself what the point of all this pain was, why my life had to blow up for some lesson I never asked for. And there it was, in one little gray text bubble. My story hadn't just burned my house down. It had flipped a light on for someone else sitting alone in the dark, wondering if it was all in her head. I typed back, "We all deserved better than what happened. I'm glad you're doing better now." Sitting there on that old wooden deck, I realized my worst night had turned into something bigger than just my own scars. And maybe that's the closest thing to justice most of us ever get. Some nights, I still think about room 2817. About a man standing in a hotel hallway with a bouquet in his hand, hearing his whole life crack on the other side of a door. And then I think about a different man, sitting on a quiet back deck in Plano, papers graded, glass half full, watching the sky change colors over a yard he finally feels at home in again. They're both me. Betrayal hurts like hell. There's no soft way to say that. It takes your sense of self, your pride, your idea of us, and runs it through a shredder. But here's what I learned the hard way. What they did to you doesn't get to decide who you become after. I could have kicked that door in. I could have drunk myself numb or burned everything down just to watch it fall. Instead, I chose something else. Not revenge, accountability. Holding them to what they did while keeping my own integrity intact. So if you've ever been where I was, standing outside your own version of room 2817, what would you do differently now? Drop your story in the comments. Hit subscribe if this hit something in you. And remember, don't let someone's betrayal turn you into a worse man. Let it turn you into a deeper one.